Morning, Sean.
Good morning, Steve.
Whoa. Have you seen Sean? He looks funny.
How so, Steve?
Greetings, rad and bodacious web surfers. You've crashed like a wave into the third devlog from independent media studio, Digital Rustic. Far out! Discussing our upcoming and in-progress video game, Project Date 8. Whoa! A family-friendly speed dating game where you have 1 hour to get to know several intriguing non-player characters and see if you can score a sweet second date with one, none, or all of them. Sick! Okay, much better. My name is Curtis, and I am the lead programmer and tools programmer for the project. In previous devlogs, we have talked about the game's production, the writing, and design of the game. But today, I'm going to give you a look at how this game ticks. Specifically, I'm going to talk about our custom-tailored Dialog Tool. The Dialog Tool is a graph-based node editor where our writers can set up the flow of conversations with our non-player characters. This tool offers many great features that our writers will use to create interesting, detailed, and fun conversations for our NPCs. Currently, the tool is still in its beginning stages, but like the beginning of a little ripple in the middle of the ocean, this tool will be making big waves in the production of this project. Tubular, brah! This tool is being developed entirely by myself using a custom editor window in the Unity game engine. I started out creating the tool by creating a blank window with nothing on it, which was boring. Later, I managed to get the graph rendering in the background, which was also boring. And eventually, I was able to get context menus and mouse input functional, which was better, but still boring. However, once I was able to figure out how to draw more onto the window, the tool started to really take shape. Since then, every single week, massive updates to the tool were being announced to the team. They were like, "Sweet! Sick, brah!" and "Far out, dude!" Speaking of the rest of the team, other members on the team have been hard at work testing and utilizing the features of the tool to help determine what needs to be added, changed, removed, or fixed. Mad props to them! Let's discuss some of the features of the tool. Here's the graph that will hold our entire conversation. To start us off, you can set up the initial message from the NPC by right-clicking the graph and selecting Add NPC Dialog. NPC Dialog can be given any text in the text field to determine what the NPC will be saying. If you repeat these steps, it will create more NPC messages. These messages can be linked together by clicking on the input and output points of each node. When you start a conversation, the initial message node will play first. Then it will use the output point connection to determine which NPC message to play next. After you insert the initial message, 2 new context actions will be unlocked when you right-click the graph. The first option, Add Choice Dialog, will allow you to create a player response choice. By connecting an NPC message to 2 or more player response choices, you will allow the conversation to branch into separate paths. Player response choices can be given any text in the text field to determine what the player's choice will say. Each of these player response choices needs to lead back into another NPC message, but they don't all have to be new NPC messages. You can wrap conversations back around to form conversation loops if necessary. This is especially useful for when you need to go back to an earlier point in the conversation. All NPC messages will have the option Add Limit. Selecting this will add a limit to the number of times this node can be called in a conversation. An example of this in our game is the player can only order a certain number of drinks before the bartender, Shauna Potts, cuts them off. NPC messages and player response choices have the option Add Event Call. Selecting this will add a new event call to the node. An event call has a name and a value. These have to be set up separately outside of the conversation tool and are used to trigger in-game events. An example of this in our game is if the player were to try giving Shauna Potts bubblegum, we may have an event call to select her as an NPC, with the name as Select NPC and a value as her name, Shauna Potts. Followed by another event call with the name as Give Item and value as bubblegum. You can have as many event calls as you want in a node. However, they will run in order from top to bottom. NPC messages and player response choices also have the option Add Choice Gate. Selecting this will add a new choice gate to the node. A choice gate has a gate name and a key value. These have to be set up separately outside of the conversation tool and are used to lock conversation paths unless the player has met certain criteria. An example of this in our game is if the player would try to give Shauna Potts bubblegum, the player must have bubblegum, with the gate name as has gum and the key value as true. You can have as many choice gates as you want in a node. All of these features allow the writers to create an intricate network of conversation paths using an incredibly modular system. The ability to call in-game events and to lock certain conversation paths until criteria are met allows for such a wide range of options. Here's everything in action. We have a few more planned features for the tool before we sharpen our focus on user experience and interface improvements. And that about wraps it up for the Dialog Tool, bros. Luckily, we didn't get interrupted by Chris this time to talk about the project updates and patch notes for the game. That would be...
Apply the ointment to the affected area. Now, a word from our sponsors. Project Date 8 Updates with Chris.
Hello, it's Chris again, here to quickly review some of the major updates we've made since our last release. First and foremost, we've recently had a couple of new additions to the art team. Please welcome Donata and Frank. As our new character artist, Donata has been hard at work banging out character models, and with this new update you'll be able to find Wilhelmina Fence and Von Smith in-game complete with 3D models. Though the character rigging falls on Chris, he hasn't done that yet. Frank, on the other hand, will be working on our environment art, and we've been in some early talks about some exciting ideas to bring this world to life. Additionally, Frank added HDRP support to the game. This will give us more control over the shaders and PBR settings, allowing for things like subsurface scattering, global illumination, and much more. The writers and I have finally settled on a design and a flow for the character dialogue. As we speak, they're hard at work writing the quest dialogue for Pamela Pinstripe. In short, each character will have a handful of quests to complete, each of which will involve puzzle solving and clever thinking. However, each character can be won over by simply raising their relationship score by correctly navigating their plethora of unique dialogue. Various improvements to both the game systems and dialogue tool have been added. They include, but are not limited to, implementation of the endgame flow where each character either rejects or accepts the player. This shows as a short 2D animation or slideshow showing each corresponding ending. We've also done general bug fixing, quality of life improvements, various improvements to the dialogue tool, and much more. But as you can see, we are still very much hard at work and constantly moving forward with this project. Thank you so much for your patience, and now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. So anyway, once the ointment is applied in an even layer, make sure you avoid any open wounds as they could...
Feel free to keep track of our progress as we catch these sick waves to the final version of our game. Check out our latest build on itch.io, link in the description below. Make sure to also check out our Twitter @rustic_media to follow our journey through the development process. If you're feeling especially tubular, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to get notified when we upload an update. And if you're really feeling like totally wicked, leave a like and comment. We appreciate your fanfare and support. Once again, my name's Curtis. Thanks for watching and I hope you have a bodacious day.
These tools look real. Cool tools. The look and the feel. Cool tools. Cool tools.
And all you have to do is apply the ointment to the appropriate area.